Welcome to the Law School Insider, where we have conversations with students, lawyers, and employers.
Succeeding in law school is something that you must prepare for, not only before you begin, but throughout your law school journey, and that's what this podcast is all about. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Lewis, and I will draw from my over 20 years of experience in the college admission field, as well as bring forth the experiences of others as we delve deeper into the issues. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Law School Insider. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Lewis, and this is a podcast brought to you by Western Michigan University Cooley Law School. This podcast is all about law school success. We talk about issues every week to help you define success in the journey that you are on, whether you are already in law school, thinking about law school, done with law school, or whatever it may be. We're here to help you define that success in your own journey. Now, today, we're going to be talking about money. We're going to be talking about finances. We're going to be talking about financial aid and how do you pay for law school. It is such an important thing to know and to think about because law school is expensive. And you have to consider that in the decisions that you are making as you are looking at law schools. So today, we are bringing you Richard Boruszewski, who is the Director of Financial Aid at Western Michigan University Cooley Law School. And he's going to be sharing some great insights into how do you do this? How can you pay for law school? How do you balance all of this and more? Rich, thanks so much for being with us this week.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for having me, Chris.
It is my pleasure having you here this week, and we are so excited to be able to talk about this because this is an important topic, and we always get a lot of questions about this. So, Rich, to start off today, what I want to do is talk about the cost of law school. It's expensive. And I know you probably have some ideas, some advice that you give to students right from the get-go about budgeting, about thinking about money, and how they should be getting their affairs in order.
Yes, there definitely is a cost to attending any school or any type of program. I mean, you want to look at it as definitely an investment in yourself, something that you're going to earn and they cannot take away from you. This knowledge, education is always great to have. When you're looking at law schools and looking to try to decide where to go, I want to hit a little bit about your general budgets, and then we can look at some ways to make it affordable for you to be able to come. So every school is required to come up with different financial aid budget, it's called. And so when you're looking at budgets, there's different categories. I'll run through some of them right now that are acceptable. It's tuition. There's general fees a school will charge, room and board, books. There's personal miscellaneous expenses, transportation, and loan fees. These are budget issues that every school can build in to determine what's the cost of education there. So basically, what we want to do is create a package for you that's going to allow you to go to school, cover your fees and tuition, plus allow you to have enough money to live off of while you're going to school. And remember, we're looking at you as a student. If you're looking at maybe you have a job currently and you're going to relocate and you've been out in the working world, or you're just continuing through an undergraduate situation and going on to law school, you're still looked at as another student, as a student here with the amount of money you're going to have. So let's roll this into what the actual costs are. Fixed costs like tuition and fees, that you're going to know when you're going to go to school. You're going to see, okay, tuition is X amount of dollars, and the fees are such and such. It's the other areas, the room and board, personal miscellaneous, transportation. Those are the things I'd want to focus on because those are things that you are able to control. So when you're looking at room and board, trying to decide where to live or what school to attend, look at that area. Make sure you go on tour to school. See what the costs are. If possible, maybe get a roommate. That could help save on rent. Because when the financial aid office lets X amount of dollars for a room and board and how much it costs, it doesn't mean you have to pay that much. You're going to pay where you end up with in living. Sometimes if there's on-campus housing, it might be a little bit more dictated, but you're able to still look and see what your alternatives are for that. Personal miscellaneous costs. Make sure you're not going out and buying that cup of coffee every day. Those are types of things that could add up, cost some additional funds. Be frugal with what you do. Maybe rent some textbooks instead of buying the textbooks. There's a lot of different ways that you can get those resources for living. And transportation is definitely a big thing because you want to be close to the campus, if at all possible. Not have a car to have to drive back and forth, because that way you don't have to have gas costs and those type of things. But these are ways to lower it to make it more reasonable to be able to attend school.
You know, one of the things that I always tell students, especially when you're talking about transportation, is look around the campuses that you're going to and see whether or not there's public transportation. At some of the campuses at Western Michigan University Cooley Law School, there is public transportation available, and you can get for a specific amount of money per term a pass that will let you go anywhere that the transit will go. And if that's the case and you don't have a car, you can save a ton of money. You don't have to pay for parking. You can go anywhere that it goes and have that pass for a fraction of the cost. So as Rich said, there are many ways that you can save some money, and being able to set up a budget for yourself from the beginning is so critical to be able to see what expenses do you have per month, but also what expenses do you have to have per month, and answer those questions before you start so that you can start making smart decisions for your future. Now, Rich, one of the things that I know that a lot of people have questions about is what kind of money is out there and how are students actually paying for law school. Can you explain a little bit of that?
What you want to do is first take an inventory of your own finances. What kind of options do you have available to you? And do I have savings? Do I have any equity in my home that I might want to explore? But primarily when people are attending school, they might be looking at loans. There's a lot of student loans out there. I'm sure you've all heard on the news about student loans. But when you get to a graduate professional level, federal student loans are the primary source of people financing their education at this time. It's not to say there's other means, and I always just look at these as financial options. So you want to do what's best by you, but there are Stafford loans that students can borrow up to $20,500 for an academic year to help them attend school. This is basically filling out a free application for federal student aid with the federal government. They'll send that information out to the school and help determine, are you able to borrow a Stafford loan? There is also what's called at a graduate level, the Graduate Plus loan, which can also help for getting additional funds. They do look to see that I would call it a credit readiness. It's not that they're going to look at your credit score, but they're going to look to see that you don't have any charge-offs, that you are current with your current bills, but it's another way to get some additional funds. Our school, Western Michigan University Cooley Law School, we have a lot of flexible scheduling options, so you can go part-time, full-time. Sometimes employment's a definite way to help reduce those costs so you don't have to borrow as much. Employment can come as work study, where you work with the financial aid office and you can look to see different work study jobs. We try to place people in jobs that are going to help you get a job in the future. Or you can do part-time work outside of a work study environment, but to still earn extra money. Because once you even get started in school, we want you to get your resume beefed up so that you're able to get a job when you're done. Scholarships. There are a ton of scholarships out there on the web. We as a school have a scholarship board on our portal that talks about different scholarships that students may be able to receive. I've seen a wide variety of scholarships, anywhere from curly hair scholarships to blue eye scholarships to maybe scholarships through students' churches or those type of things. Leave no stone unturned. Keep on looking around, Google, see what's out there, see what's available to you. As always, I caution if someone says, well, send us $500 and we can find scholarships for you. There's enough free services out there to find, so you shouldn't have to pay to find scholarships. I would keep in touch with your financial aid office, see what they have to offer. And there's also institutional scholarships that schools can offer to help them out.
Scholarship programs that you're going to be seeing at different law schools are different. Every school is a little bit different. They have different requirements. They have different things that they're going to be looking at. A lot of times, law schools will look at your LSAT score, your undergraduate GPA. Sometimes there are other factors as well. So you have to look at the fine print. You also need to make sure that you're looking at the fine print in regards to, can you keep that scholarship? And how can you keep that scholarship? When they offer you a scholarship, are you keeping it for your entire time? Or do you have to keep a certain GPA? Those are questions that you have to ask or you have to look into. At Western Michigan University Cooley Law School, we have a great Honor Scholars program. It is based on a combination of your LSAT and academic performance in your undergraduate degree. And in that, students can get anywhere from a 10% scholarship all the way to a 100% scholarship. So depending on how you have performed on the LSAT, how you've performed in your undergraduate GPA, you potentially could have your entire tuition taken care of. Think about that and think about how much that would equate to. So doing what you can, and we've talked about the LSAT before on the Law School Insider, and we've given you some tips in regards to that. But definitely prepare well for the LSAT, because the higher score that you get is going to help. It doesn't mean that that's going to be the only factor, but it is a factor. And if you have a high LSAT score coming in, even if you have a lower GPA, sometimes that will balance off that, not only in the admission side, but also on scholarship side. So those are things that you need to be looking into, asking questions of every law school that you're going to be considering. Now, Rich, before we finish up today, one of the things that I want to just open it up to is say, what other advice do you give to students when they're going through this process of trying to find aid, trying to figure out how can I balance this for myself? What kind of advice do you give to them? And also, what kind of advice do you give to students in regards to coming out of law school with the least debt possible? Because I know that that's been something that you've been a big advocate for in trying to work with students to minimize their debt along the way.
You want to keep in touch with your financial aid departments. They're there to help you. They're there to help guide you through this process. Definitely talking to past students, alumni that you might know, see what they have done. But financial aid offices might be able to suggest in relocating, being able to go to secondhand stores or surplus stores to get furniture and that type of thing that you might need, a desk to study at. You're going to be spending so much time with your law degree and studying. You won't need a lot of things to have around you to live off of. In other words, a nice desk, a nice chair, and maybe a TV for some entertainment at times. But by all means, just limit your spending, limit what you're getting now, because, there's a saying, live like a law student, not like a lawyer. That time will come soon enough. Before you know it, you'll get started here and you'll be graduating just like that. It'll go very quick for you. So if you can keep those costs down, sometimes people say, well, I'm going to owe maybe X amount of dollars. What's another $1,000 to that? $1,000 is still $1,000. And if you get out of school, and what I always want to see every student say is I borrowed X amount of dollars, but thank God it was only that. That's all I needed to do, because I watched my money here and there. And it's just, you're watching every cent that you have going out.
So I appreciate you sharing that today. And one thing that I'm going to add with what Rich just said was, not only is $1,000 $1,000, but you have to think about the interest that you're accruing every term. And unless you're going to pay that interest off as the loan goes forward, that $1,000 is going to turn into $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 in the time that you are in law school. It's going to compound, and you have to keep that in mind. So minimize as much as possible. Don't feel like you have to take out the max. Look at the minimum that you need to take to live and be able to come out with a minimum amount of debt, but also ready to hit the ground running and not have that albatross over your back of the big debt load that you're going to have to pay off for many, many years. Yes, it is expensive, but is it doable? It is doable. And it is something that you can do. And by working with your financial aid office, other people on the campus, they can give you great advice. They can walk you through the process, and definitely you will be ready to go. So Rich, thanks so much for joining us this week. It's been a pleasure having you on, and we'll have to have you on again in the future.
Thank you again, Chris, for having me, and good luck to all of you guys with your law school endeavors.
Well, that was another great guest this week on the Law School Insider. If you have an interest in being a guest on the show, drop me an email at lawschoolinsider@Cooley, COOLEY.edu. And thank you all for listening today. And remember, you have the ability and right to take control of your law school's success. I hope you'll continue listening, creating a plan for success that will prepare you to achieve the dreams that you have set for yourself. Talk to you next time. Thanks for listening. You're on your way to being a law school insider. Please subscribe to stay connected and come back again next time as we speak to more students, lawyers, and employers.